Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. Tonight we go to Bonnybridge in Scotland for a Bigfoot type creature and a secret alien base. I would like to thank this witness for taking the time to contact me and share his information on an encounter he had around a decade ago. In fact, I'd like to thank all the witnesses that have come forward over the years. I understand just how hard it can be to not only see something so impossible, but also to have to try and explain its very presence to someone who cannot possibly imagine what you saw that day. How do you tell the lads down the gym or your mates in the pub? Can you bring it up at the next mums and toddlers meet or whilst out dining with friends? A random, by the way, has anyone else here seen a tall hairy giant creature when they were out walking the dog? That can get you a sideways look that most witnesses can describe in great detail. It can take years before the person realises they are not alone and to understand that there are many others who've had the same experience and seen the exact same creature here in the UK on our tiny island. The last sighting report that I took of an upright hairy creature came in on the 28th of March 2020 during a COVID-19 lockdown in an area on the northwest of Scotland at Golspie. Scotland has a huge number of reports from the big grey man and the running man to the ginger R and the man monkeys. The descriptions and habits match from east coast to west. It's just the regional names for the creature that changes. Now, the running man legend of old speaks of a tall, hairy man that runs at top speed across the mountain tops and valleys. The modern day reports speak of a creature that is said to chase cars on the road, and in one instance overturn a car being driven by a woman in Crieff. Many people have reported these upright hairy creatures chasing deer, as if hunting them, crossing the road in front of cars and watching and stalking hikers in the woods. Now, the very first reports of an upright hairy man-like creature were documented in an ancient Caledonian text, the history of ancient Caledonia from the time of Saint Caldeg, the founder of Christianity. Now, these texts tell of a race of hairy men-like creatures known as the satyrs, or hairy man-monkeys, who were said to have forced the Gauls back to Dundee around the 4th century. The satyrs were known for stealing fish from nets and maidens from clans. The only thing that scared these giants were flames, so all of the fields and woods were lit in the hopes of scaring these strange creatures away, but it didn't work. Even in today's modern society, where we live even closer to cities and towns, there are reports of these hairy man-like creatures, and they still come in. It's thanks to people brave enough to report what they've encountered that we still have so many modern-day reports. This witness made a report, and these are his words. I'm from Dundee and I wanted to report something I saw a good while ago now. Back when this happened, I was in my 20s, maybe a little younger. Back then I had no idea what it was I was about to see, but now I would say I saw a Bigfoot face to face. I feel like a nutter saying this to you, and I've already reached out to 2 other paranormal researchers previously, but no one seems to care really or to take me seriously. This also happened to me. I came forward to a number of people who said they investigated experiences like mine, each one shutting the door in my face quickly with a quick no thanks. Now I take the reports myself, and I still hear from so many people turned away, left with nowhere to go. The gentleman said, when this happened, it must have been around Christmas time, as it was winter about 10 years ago. I was at my ex-girlfriend's house and my friend was there with us, and she decided to walk home really late at night, alone on the country lanes, and that worried me. So I suggested I'd walk her down part of the way, as she was a younger lady and quite a way to go to her house, and the area's a bit dodgy at night. My ex said she'd also come with us, so all 3 of us set off, and we cut through some shortcuts and stopped outside her house, having watched her the whole way. Me and my ex-girlfriend started walking back the way we'd come to go home. It was cold out that night, and the path we were walking on eventually comes to a bridge. Under the bridge is a creek that splits into 2. There are 6 ways in and out of this place, and it's dark. There's no street lights, and only a few small woods are dotted about, and those woods are full of deer, fish, and all kinds of wildlife. We came across the bridge walking back. Then we turned a corner, and there it was. It was huge in size, tall and broad, and definitely not human in any sense of the word. You could tell it wasn't human because it was in clear view, sitting half on the path and half in the bushes. It was by a creek at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, and the weather was ice cold. When it stood up to its full height, it was like a giant standing there with long, huge arms. Myself and my girlfriend ran off, and it's been bugging me what I saw that night ever since. The weird thing is, a few years later, I saw a report in the paper about a guy across at Tayport, and he was close to the Tay, and he'd seen something like this man creature, and he described the same thing I saw. I have heard tales of the grey man in the Cairngorms, but how do you tell people that's what you saw? Nobody's going to believe me, and up to now nobody has. I had to share that with you. I could tell you had seen him too, when you were speaking about your experience. I have also heard growling over the years when I've been out, so that's what's happened to me. Since then, I've been out researching myself, and I've done some investigation on my own. I will be honest, the first 2 times I went out looking, I was really scared, and back then I had already had one encounter, which scared the out of me. But it does get easier each time, the more you go out. And since then, I've seen a few other weird things in the same area I saw the creature. There is not really anywhere you can study up on useful information here in the UK, other than watching a few documentaries, which did help me to pinpoint the type of creature I saw. It also helped me find you. When I watched you talking about what happened to you, I just knew you'd seen them also. I'm convinced what I saw was a Bigfoot. It had pale colour, and it was whitish, with maybe a bit of grey mixed into its light-coloured hair. It had reddish eyes. Well, I thought they were red. My girlfriend, who was with me at the time, thought it had orangey-coloured eyes. Now, Bonnybridge is dubbed the UFO capital of the UK, as there are so many reported sightings of UFO craft. Some also claim that Bonnybridge in Scotland is the main UFO hotspot of the world because there is supposed to be a military base hidden up there. It's so many reports now, they started to call it the Falkirk Triangle. Now, this small town of just 6,000 people near Edinburgh has seen its fair share of aliens. At least half of the town's residents reported to have seen them at one time or another. For example, the Sloggett family report seeing blue lights in the sky as they walked home one evening, and even saw a flying saucer the size of a house fly past their heads. One of the most well-witnessed sightings happened in the late 1980s, when members of a fire crew were among the witnesses to see hovering objects that rushed towards startled onlookers before veering off at the last minute. 5 years later, a film lasting almost 20 seconds was taken, which shows a white light that was seen to keep pace with a moving car. 6 people witnessed this encounter, and the white light is seen to emit a smaller light from within. Sightings didn't stop there, however. In just 2 years, in the early 1990s, there were over 600 UFO sightings reported by the residents of this relatively small area of Scotland. Many people believe there's an alien base, hence the high number of reports, as we've already touched on. Town councillor Billy Buchanan has claimed that half of the population have met or seen aliens. Between 1992 and 1994, there were 300 sightings a year in this area, leading Mr Buchanan to contact the then Prime Minister Tony Blair. There are hundreds of reported sightings in the surrounding area. As I say, they call it the Falkirk Triangle. This month, I will be bringing you a number of reports where Bigfoot creatures are seen around, in, and close to alien craft. So until next time, stay safe everyone. Good night.